Hey, what's up, everybody? It's John Schumacher here with NewWaveHealthcare.com. Just want to give you guys a brief reminder that we are a video podcast. So if you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher Radio and you're interested in consuming these wonderful interviews and content discussions on video, go over to NewWaveHealthcare.com. We have over 30 videos listed there with all of the links to all the resources talked about, as well as the contact information of all our wonderful guests that we've had on the show. Also, don't forget to sign up for our email updates. We put out a Friday weekly curated list, a newsletter, if you will, all kinds of amazing content in healthcare innovation, as well as the replay of each week's interview. So make sure to check it out there. And to start the show off today, we have a couple of announcements. I want to announce that we're launching a brand new show, June 26th, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be launching a show called Health Jams, which is going to be a live, interactive discussion on the topics of online marketing in the healthcare industry. So we're going to be bringing in online marketing and marketing experts in general, and we'll be discussing all of those topics, social media, how to build your following, how to build a list, website, all of that stuff. We'll be talking about that live and interactive, meaning you can drop questions, do Q&A back and forth with the presenters and us. So that's a really neat show. We're excited to launch that here in June 26th. Also, next month we'll be launching 3 brand new shows, all on different topics related to healthcare marketing, online marketing, and healthcare innovation. So we're really going to be ramping up the content next month and putting out tons of content, tons of shows, all video and audio format. So if you like that format, which I certainly do, you're going to love all the content that's flying out of New Wave Healthcare. And it's really becoming the New Wave Healthcare network. It'll be a network of shows, web shows, video shows, and podcasts, all on healthcare innovation. So stay tuned. Stay tuned to this. We'll be making several announcements on our future shows as well as on our email list. So make sure to subscribe and keep up to date. And then one last thing, this show right here, we'll be transitioning a little bit. For the last few months, we've been discussing healthcare innovation and been spotlighting and talking with a lot of health tech companies. We're still going to be doing some of that, but we're going to be transitioning our show more into the marketing piece, because that's really my passion and the passion of a lot of our followers is, how do you market your service? How do you sell your service, build a following, create an audience? So there'll be more topic-based discussions sprinkled into the interviews that we've been doing every week here at NewWaveHealthcare.com, the show. So that'll be a little bit of a transition, so keep a heads up for a little bit of a wrinkle in our show format, which I think you all are going to really enjoy a lot. And I also want to announce that I have partnered with Michael Bloom, who just so happens to be our guest today on the show. Michael is the Caregiving Without Regret expert. He is the author of the Accidental Caregiver Survival Guide, has sold hundreds, coming up on thousands of books, and has been booked for I don't know how many speaking engagements lately. It seems like he gets one every single week, a new one. He's telling me that he's getting one. Michael and I are partnering at NewWaveHealthcare.com. Michael has an extensive background in marketing, being an author, being a speaker, how to market your services and build an audience and speak clearly. He's an excellent marketer on Facebook and LinkedIn. He has a lot of talents in a lot of different areas when it comes to online marketing. So he has partnered with NewWaveHealthcare.com, and we are officially pushing out online marketing and media services for healthcare providers. And that'll be our focus at New Wave Healthcare, is to help all of you who are entrepreneurs and startups in the healthcare industry market your services online and gather media exposure, build an audience, and sell more products and services. So that was a mouthful. That was quite an introduction. But let's go ahead and jump onto our topic today, and that is, how do you pitch your company with power? As I mentioned, Michael is a dynamic speaker, has a lot of knowledge in the speaking engagement realm and how to really talk and articulate what you do clearly. So our discussion for the next 15 minutes or so is going to be centered around that topic. So if you're a healthcare provider or a healthcare startup, you're going to have to pitch your company to investors, to your peers, to other people. How do you do that clearly, succinctly, in a manner that everybody gets and gets emotional about and then joins your cause. So let me bring in and introduce Michael Bloom. Michael, thanks for coming today and talking with us and talking about this amazing, important topic. Just give us a little bit more about you, and then let's jump into this.
Sure, sure. Well, it's such a pleasure to be here, John. And, I was on your show in sort of its beginning. So if I encourage people to go to newwavehealthcare.com because, John, you have interviewed some amazing people over these last months, and there's so many great entrepreneurs, innovation that's happening in the healthcare field, and all of those great resources. So I encourage people, if you have not heard some of the prior interviews, go back and check out some of the amazing things that are happening. They're making the world a better place. And it's exciting to be back here to partner with you, but also to launch our new show, Health Jams, in June 2014. You said June 26th. Excited about that. We're going to have an interactive forum, so
Yes.
folks can come and ask us questions. So it's not just us as talking heads, but or talking ears, because people might be just listening and not seeing us. But we could get beyond that and really get into some of the nitty-gritty of some of the issues and the struggles that people are having. Because you know what, each and every one of you that's listening, that really wants to get your innovative product or service or what your passion for what you bring to the world out, you deserve to do so. This is a great time to do that. And I've been really blessed. I mean, the reason I'm the Caregiving Without Regret expert is I served as both a professional and a family caregiver. I took care of both of my parents in their older years and unfortunately their end-of-life journeys. That motivated me to write a book last year called The Accidental Caregiver Survival Guide as I was really moving forward in my coaching business. My book has really been a big business card to get me more business, to get out in the world to speak. And as John said, my speaking engagement calendar is just really filling up. I actually, I have a little bags under my eyes right now, I think, because I've actually had 6 both live, paid, and virtual speaking engagements in the past 7 days. So things are really rolling. I'm thrilled. But the bigger thing is now that I've been getting in touch with so many people that are out there in this healthcare field, I noticed that a lot of people are really struggling to get their businesses, to get seen, to get heard, to get celebrated for what they're bringing and to get compensated. And I think together we can really explore topics and really peel back the layers of what's involved so people can really start to do that. So I'm excited today that we're going to launch right in to talk about speaking, which is definitely, if somebody told me years ago that I would become a public speaker that's now very comfortable even in front of a 1,000-person audience talking,
Oof.
I never would have believed them. I mean, when I was in school, both in high school and college, getting up to do a presentation in front of a class made me very nervous. So I was very introverted when I was younger, was afraid to put myself out there. Now I eat it up. It's very energizing. I'm more relaxed because I tell my story and I make a connection. That's kind of what I want to share today about how people can do that. You can do it too. If I did it, you can do it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Public speaking is scary. I still get scared. I've been doing it for the last year, and it's still, you still get butterflies. You still get nervous, and so, you want to make sure that your message comes out authentically and clearly, how do you overcome those nerves is a good thing to think about. But let's talk about the biggest mistake that people often make if they're a healthcare startup, if they're somebody who is even just a clinic owner pitching themselves to a doctor, or anybody in the healthcare industry or in life really. What is in your opinion, Michael, what is the biggest mistake that people make when they start talking about their company?
I think the biggest mistake is focusing just on the product or service that they're offering and the content and what exactly they're sharing, and rather than focusing on how they're sharing it and the connection that they're making. I mentioned back in high school and college, I was really nervous about making presentations. I don't know about you, John, but when I got up in front to make a presentation, it was typically on a topic that maybe I chose or was chosen for me. I had to get facts and figures, it was all, you got graded based on how coherent your argument was, how coherent your point was, how well you made it, but you weren't rated on the connection that you made with your audience. That's something that I was never rated on. And I grew, and then when I went further in school, I have a master's degree. Actually I have 2, but one of them I had to do a master's thesis, and I had to defend my thesis in front of an academic team.
Oof.
And it wasn't about building a personal connection with my audience. It was about proving I was competent with my subject matter. It was relevant, thoroughly investigated. had all the details that were necessary to pass the standards to get that thesis or dissertation passed. And a lot of people, they're developing these wonderful products, and they're very skilled and they're very knowledgeable, and they put their heart and soul into developing these. Some of these are very complex, maybe scientific properties or internet or computer applications. They're very knowledgeable with that. People do and will get wowed about what you're bringing, but it's so much more important that you think about how you share that message with the audience. Build a relationship. And the best way that you can do that, actually, if you don't mind, John, I just wanted to share a quote of one of my favorite people. People who are listening to you, listening to this, may know that an American icon and one of my favorite ever writers, poets, public speakers just passed away in the past week, Maya Angelou. And she has so many quotes that are worthy of quoting, but one that I think about that really means a lot to me, especially as I've lost people close to me during the caregiving journey, is Maya said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." But people will never forget how you made them feel. And when you're pitching your product or service, or you're getting in front of a group of client prospects or investors, you want them to feel good about you and to build that relationship so they know, like, and trust you. Once you set the scene and have them feeling good about you right from the start, then everything else you have to share will flow from there and they'll be connected to you. So that's really the most important starting point, is build the relationship, be authentic, and I think tell a story.
Absolutely, yeah. No, and like you said, people don't always remember what you say. In fact, they forget a large percentage of what you say, but if you emotionalize them, if you engage their emotions and start with a hook, start with a story to interweave and paint the picture of what your service does and what the benefits are for it, that really kicks it off. I can't remember what the percentages are, but the majority of people's attention is peaked right at the beginning, and then it just slowly goes downhill from there. So if you don't hook them right away, if you don't get their emotions tied into what you're going to share with them after that story, you're going to lose them. So that is the critical piece of any speaking that, in my experience, has been to start off with a bang, an intriguing question, a story that really involves the audience, really helps bring them into what you're doing, and keeps them awake, basically, and keeps their attention from dropping so fastly.
Absolutely. And most healthcare entrepreneurs that are out there are developing a product or service to fill a gap in the marketplace, and they may have witnessed something that was a problem that they want to solve. So if you could tell a story as to why developing this product is important to you, and how you could see and that it's become your mission to improve X, to improve, patient hospital communication, or to improve, healthcare, physical therapy access to, physical therapy information to better people's health at recovery periods, as to why you may have seen this with a family member who struggled, with communication, and that led you to want to develop the product. You're personalizing this. Tell a story. It's what I do as a caregiver. I don't share the background of my caregiving with my parents to say that my pathway of what I did with my parents is what everybody else should do. We're all unique in our family situations and in our caregiving roles. There is no right path, but I want people to know that I understand where they're coming from. I know how easy it is to get stressed and overwhelmed in the role, and that I walk the talk with what I'm saying. Anything that I share with them, I would not have done myself or suggested to others that I'm close to try to do, and that we forge that connection right away with the goal that they have an easier time than me in the caregiving role, that it becomes easier, that they're getting the training and the resources practically that they need to get better at what they do so they can have improved lives. And I guarantee you, the listener, who are developing an innovative product or service in this healthcare field, are really trying to do the same thing. I think we share the mission in trying to improve the world for people. What is your personal connection to that? What is your story? Make that authentic connection with your audience.
Absolutely, and there's so many wonderful folks. And healthcare's got, getting your message in healthcare is important. There's so many people in this industry that have important things to say. I mean, we're talking healthcare here, people's health, people's livelihood. If you don't have your health, what do you have, really, right? And so we have all these wonderful entrepreneurs and innovators in our industry who are smart people who are on a mission, but they get hung up a little bit on how to speak and how to tell their story authentically and really involve people and bring people into your cause, because that's really what you want to do, right, is bring people to your cause. You can't really
Absolutely.
stuff things down people's throats. You have to attract people. You have to put out content. That's why I firmly believe that every company, any startup or anything, should be a media company slash whatever they do, because if you're not putting out content and attracting people to your cause, how are you going to develop a following? You can't cold call everybody. You can't push market everybody. You have to attract people to your story. So spending time when you're putting your pitch together, when you're putting that together, to really personalize it, and the more emotional, the better. Boy, you're really going to get the people kind of on the edge of their seats, and they're going to really want to listen to what you do because they're emotionally involved. So with that said, I think we touched on you should start with a story. You should start with something intriguing, a story, something to hook your audience. If you want to call it the hook, that's fine, and bring them into what you're doing. But what about the rest of the structure, Michael? What about, okay, they've told a powerful emotional story, and they've hooked people into what they're doing. You want to talk a little bit more about your thoughts on how it should go after that?
Sure. So once you do that hook, and I think another way to look at it, because I like to look at it as an audience that we're magnetizing. So I'm
Yeah.
looking at it as a magnet. So you have a magnetizing story. So your story is magnetizing, so people just want to rush over to you, and maybe they don't feel compelled to hug you, but they feel good enough that they feel comfortable with you, know, like, and trust you, so they want to hear the rest. When you get into describing the rest, now you're into the content. And I think that's where you want to make sure that you feel comfortable enough with what you've developed that you can share what the benefits are and what the big picture is as to what your product or service is going to do for whatever organization or clients that you're trying to reach. So I think right away you need to set the scene in terms of what is the problem that partly got displayed in your story. Then you go a little bit deeper in terms of, okay, this was the problem I observed, this is a problem at large, and this is what we need to get solved, and this is how our product or service will help you or groups of people, clients, or your organization get to the solution. And then now here are the benefits, and really lay them out in a really in a really comfortable, professional way. And I think the other big thing too, John, that I want to share is most people, and especially people in the science arena, speak in very complex terms. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're speaking to customers that may invest in you or may want to choose your product, they're not going to be at the same level of understanding those million-dollar words. So I think it's really important that you communicate your message mainly in a way that a 5-year-old can understand, so that you make it very simple and clear and not try to overwhelm. Those that need to know more detailed information, they will ask questions to get those details in the Q&A section. You want to make your presentation as simple and clear and organized as possible that hammers home the point with specific bullet points as to how your product or service offers benefits to get to the solution that's desired.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and then the key is benefits, right? Don't talk about the features of your product, right? Talk about the benefits that it offers to your target audience, right? We don't want
Yes.
to just be listing off my product as this, this, and this. We want to say this solves this, this, or this. And it shouldn't be this many thises either. It should be maybe two lists or three lists at the most. This is, I think I said, right? I think I said that right.
Yes.
2 or 3 this is the most you want to really touch on, because otherwise people are going to get confused. You really need to simplify it, like Michael says, put it down to a 5-year-old level of comprehension. 2 or 3 key points. If you need to make a long list of all of your features, do that, but then pick the most important key takeaways that affect your person that you're looking to serve, and put those in simple language, boil it way down, and use it repetitively throughout your speech. Like if you're going to start with your story, have a couple key points, and use what are called anchors. I know we use in Toastmasters, we use anchors all the time to really bring back to a topic that we really want to hit home on. Is pick 1 or 2 anchors that you want to put in your speech, so that you don't lose your audience, that you bring it back to that anchor each time, that key point that helps your audience refocus on it, because they might forget in the middle of a whole speech they're trying to keep up with you, that you need to hit them with your anchor a couple times to really have them take that point home, in my opinion. And then wrap it up. At the end, kind of retouch on everything else. Have a conclusion that touches on what you wanted them to learn, and then a call to action or a statement of need is a good way to wrap things up and sort of tie it back into the story even that you started with could be a good strategy. What are your thoughts on that, Michael?
I agree. I agree. You definitely want to keep tying back to a theme or an anchor, that you have those consistent anchors that really hits home the message. Here are the benefits that this product or service is going to provide, and you're building the case as you go through, but don't overcomplicate it. You don't need to share 10 things.
Okay.
And if people want to know, if you want to be able to share other features, that's where you can develop a handout that goes out to your live audience, or something that really spells out the details that somebody can read. Because the bottom line in this quick presentation that you may have, and sometimes if you get in front of a group to pitch something, or you're giving a speech in front of a group, you may only have 10 or 15 minutes at most to really pitch. So you really want to make the most important points, build the connection, so some of those people that you're talking to want to go deeper with you, learn more, and then become your client or your investor. This is really your opportunity to start that relationship. And I would just want to add too, John, I think one of the things that can make folks feel a little more comfortable, and this is probably one of the hardest things to learn when you're an entrepreneur, but the faster you learn it, the better off you are. Try not to be so attached to the outcome. We view ourselves as a failure if we don't get an immediate bite after we deliver a presentation. And some people are not ready to make an on-the-spot decision. So the idea is just be focused on building the relationship. Build the fact that these folks that you've touched, maybe they're not going to make a decision at the end of today, but they definitely want to keep you in their contact list on their phone or their Rolodex or whatever, and they will come back in the future, and give them a way to stay in touch with you. Make sure that you have a website or a presence, which I know will be a topic for another day because we're going to explore these things on Health Jams. But you want to have a call to action at the end of your presentation. Some way for these folks to stay in touch with you. So they get on your email list, they come to your social media, they do whatever, but have a place for them to come, because most of them are not going to make a buy decision right after your presentation. So you're just starting that relationship. If some of them do, like when I speak and people come up and they come and buy my book afterwards, which generally is what happens, or, I feel great. But many of those that don't buy a book afterwards, I find a way for them to stay in touch with me. They get on my email list, and they may pursue me for other services down the line. I'm not invested so much on the outcome. And it just magnetizes. Again, you do end up with good outcomes because of that. So don't feel the disappointment. And when I first did the engagements, because I wasn't so good, I think initially, at putting this all together in a way that was so comfortable, even in the beginning of my public speaking in this journey, that I wasn't getting so many book buyers at first. But one of my engagements that I was at last week, I actually had 60 buyers at the end of the session. So, it's just great. It's so heartwarming to have the line form. And so for you with your product or service, I don't expect that necessarily 60 people are going to line up to slam down money. For them, it was easy to make a $10 purchase. You're getting people to make a more substantial investment, which is why if you want people to make a more substantial investment in your product or service, focused on the relationship building. Yes. And building your audience, grow your audience. That's where this all boils down to, because then you have more people that you'll pull from in the field that could potentially go deeper with you.
Absolutely, yeah. And in healthcare, it's not a quick sell often, right? I mean, we have high ticket items often, and relationship building is huge, right? So if you don't have a way to keep track of these new people you're meeting, how are you going to build your business over the years and years that it's really probably going to take you? It's not going to happen overnight. You need to build your audience. You need to have a way to track these people and to build real relationships with them. And you should want to be their friends, I hope, right? You should want to be your customers' friends, like all the interviewees that I've had on here. They're my friends. I mean, I try to make friends with everybody. Not everybody's as warm and fuzzy, and it doesn't always work out, but you want to be friends, and if you really build relationships with people, if you're in it for the long haul, if you're looking to scale your business up over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, or more, you got to have the relationships, and so doing what you're doing, getting out there and speaking, whether it's in events like you do, or even what about a local civic group, or something in your community? Go call them. They're always looking for speakers. Call them and say, hey, I have a healthcare company I'd love to speak on. It doesn't have to be your exact topic, but it could be something related to fitness or good health and stuff, and you could give away a little guide at the end, 7 tips for better health, or or whatever. I'll give you this guide if you give me your business card. You never know who you might meet, and getting out there and speaking in your community is going to be much better than cold calling people.
Oh, it will, and lots of people, like organizations, like to have speakers come in that they can feature, and even spiritual religious organizations, it's another great vehicle. I know when I first started talking, that's where I was going and meeting with some spiritual religious organizations. I'll tell you the thing that's great about doing something like that too is if you're not comfortable with public speaking, if you get in front of some friendly audiences, or even if it's your own church or synagogue and you have the ability to get in front if you're a member and talk to a group of people, you're getting practice. You're
Yes.
getting practice, and maybe they'll give you some feedback, because the more you do it, the more comfortable you will become. So why not try some trial runs with some people that may already, really kind of like you, and do that, take advantage of that, and do it, and then seek some virtual opportunities. I know, John, you've had a great forum on New Wave for people to come on and talk about their products or services and really think about, how they go about, pitching, and it's interesting to hear the differences from everybody who's been on about how they've gone about that.
Yep.
And the ones that I've actually enjoyed the most are the ones that tell the story about what motivated them to do this.
Yeah, that's key. Yep. All right. Well, as we wrap things up here, Michael, let's each give a couple tips that any healthcare entrepreneur or startup or anything could take away from this discussion today, and then we'll say goodbye.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think the most important tip is, remember, it's about how you make the audience feel. So tell a story. That's the primary one right at the beginning of your presentation, and connect with the people you're speaking to. That's really the primary thing. And if you start from there, then the next thing is, then you start to lay out what your product or service, the solutions that it's offering to the marketplace, and how it's going to better the world. That's the two main tips I'd like people to leave with.
That is liquid gold right there. I love that. That if they could just remember that one tip and frame their next pitch or their next discussion around that, that'll be huge for them. I'm going to give a couple tips. Mine are maybe a little more objective, but it's I think slow down when you speak, and that is something that I really struggle with. I'm a fast talker. I talk fast. I probably, even with this intro, probably talked a little faster than I should. It is a struggle, but you need to learn to speak slower. Slow down when you talk, because when you're speaking too fast or out of control, you give your listener the impression that what you say is not important, and you're nervous, and I'm not confident in what I'm saying. So slowing down and speaking at a level that they can follow, and put little pauses in between your key points. That takes a skill that I'm still learning, but put a pause in there, slow down, and you will sound much more polished and much more professional. And the second one I'm going to give you guys is it's simple. Practice. Practice it. Practice. If you want to be good at anything in life, practice. Study. If you want to be a better speaker, study speaking. If you want to be a better father, study fatherhood. That goes together with everything else that we've talked about is practice your speech. Get good at it. Get the dog and the family together and have them then give your speech for them first, and then take it up on the stage. Practice, study, read books, look at videos, listen to awesome videos like this one that'll help you speak better. There's just so many ways today to get information, and the key word is study. Just start studying things. If you want to be good at it, put some time into it, and you can get better. So that's my last tip for the evening. Michael, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this really cool topic. I thought this was absolute gold and really enjoyed this, and I'm looking so much forward to more of these conversations with you and topic-related discussions on this show. So thank you so much. Let's just have you share a little bit where people can find out more about you.
Sure. And John, I just want to say too that I'm looking forward to us launching Health Jams. I think we're going to have a lot of entertaining, what do we call it, edutainment kinds of things that will happen on Health Jams. That's not going to just be your boring marketing discussion dribble, that we get down into it, get some interactive discussions. Let's peel the layers apart and get kind of naked with the marketing, I guess you can say. Ooh. So we get into it so people understand what they're doing. But in terms of people, I would love for people to get in touch with me, and I know you're changing the site so people will be able to find me on New Wave Healthcare too.
Yep.
But for those of you that may be a caregiver or know of caregivers, if you want some caregiving support, I offer lots of practical free resources on my website at bloomforcoach.com. That's BLOOM forcoach.com. And you can learn more about my book, The Accidental Caregiver Survival Guide, I actually have a book website, which is theaccidentalcaregiversurvivalguide.com. And you could actually take the first few chapters of my book for a test drive. So thanks for letting me do that, John.
No problem. And you guys know me. I'm the guy at New Wave Healthcare. You can find me there. All over. You could put my name into LinkedIn or whatever. You can find me there, John Schumacher. So yeah, excited, guys. We're really excited. There's a lot of new changes coming to this show, and I'm just excited to make it more authentic and what we're really passionate about, which is, we really do love, Michael and I both love, marketing and helping people share their message. So that is a service we're currently offering. I'm just taking on a couple clients right now as we speak to help them share their message, grow their audience, and sell more of their products and services. So if you're interested in that at all, go over to newwavehealthcare.com. You can put the contact. You can put an email in the contact tab for now. We are working on putting up some new pages, and it is going to look different here in the next few weeks. But in the meantime, reach out to me, John at New Wave Healthcare. That's John, Jon, at newwavehealthcare.com. And if you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher and you want to see the video recording, and I'll link up Michael's information below on the show notes page, go over to newwavehealthcare.com/speakwell, and I'll have a link there to this discussion as well as all the resources we mentioned during this talk. So that's it for now. We have some changes coming, new shows, a little bit of a shift in our topics here, which we're all excited about. So I'll be putting one of these out every single week, and we'll move forward together. So have a great evening, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.